Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. And Ziggy, we got some NFC North trade news. Look at that on a Tuesday afternoon. We're getting going.
DK Metcalf is going to the Green Bay Packers. That's what we're reacting to, right?
Yeah, no, almost. Not yet. We're not there yet. I'm sure soon we'll get some Packer receiver information. If you guys are enjoying listening to these episodes, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can check out, it's funny, today was supposed to be an off day, but that's how it works in sports media. When you think you're off, something always happens. Now, I'm not sure if Jonah Jackson getting traded to the Chicago Bears for most shows would be like a, stop all things we're recording, but we decided to do that today. It's the Chicago Bears going after an offensive lineman. So we're back on the mics, and you could go check out our episode from earlier today. We talked about Devontae Adams to the Packers, Aaron Rodgers to the Giants, a bunch of fun free agency rumors that are circling around the NFL. So, Ziggy, thanks for stopping everything you're doing to talk a little Chicago Bears.
Of course. It's, the pick the Bears are trading actually is the Justin Fields trade pick.
I saw that.
Really, this is Justin Fields for Jonah Jackson.
I saw that. So, as we have not so quietly alluded to here, the Bears are helping out Caleb Williams in a pretty big way. And a couple shows ago, Ziggy, when I was doing a solo one, I talked about Caleb Williams getting sacked 68 times last year. By now, if you've listened to this show, you've heard us say it a million times. Most sacked quarterback in the NFL by a mile. CJ Stroud was second with 52 sacks. 16 more sacks for Caleb last year. Some of them his fault, sometimes not. But the Bears had to figure out some issues along the offensive line. Plus, they were losing the interior to free agency. All three guys on that interior of the O-line needed to be traded, or not traded, needed to be changed. So, the Bears today sent a 6th-round pick, which was the Justin Fields pick that they traded, they received from the Steelers, in exchange for Jonah Jackson from the LA Rams. So they get the first, in all likelihood, the first of those 3 replacements are now in for Chicago here. Financially, the Bears are taking on the contract, $9 million this year, $17 million in 2026. But that first piece of the puzzle for Chicago has been seemingly solved. What are your reactions to them trading for a guy who only played 4 games last year, coming off a pretty serious injury, and when he did come back was a little disappointing?
So here's the thing I think the Bears are thinking about this Jonah Jackson trade. He was not particularly good with the Rams. That's just true. The shoulder injury obviously hurt, but he didn't get his job when he came back either. There were plenty of games he could have played this year. I think he was back week 10 or week 11.
Yep.
And the only games he started after a couple there were when the Rams rested all their starters week 18. So he lost the job. That is just true. He was not, the Rams have a spoiled riches at guard. That's why they're moving off of him. But I think if you're the Bears, your hope is that Jonah Jackson, what was he really good at doing? Playing in Ben Johnson's offense. He knows the Ben Johnson system. Ben Johnson knows him. And he played his best football there. And let's not forget, there's a reason why he signed that huge deal with the Rams, right? He was incredible with the Lions. Over 2 seasons of starting there with Ben Johnson, he gave up 2 total sacks. 0 one year, 2 the next.
It's pretty good.
If you could get a Bears interior offensive lineman giving up 0 sacks in a season, you'd have to be happy about that. So the familiarity, I think, is a major reason why this destination makes sense. Why the Bears are willing to do it when I'm not sure any other team was.
The other thing, too, is giving away a 6th-round pick. It's only $9 million this season. I'm pretty sure that they can let him go next year, and I don't think that there's...
they're not on the hook for much because the Rams are eating the whole signing bonus.
Yeah, so as far as like what the Bears could possibly lose on this, there's not too much. It's really a pretty high upside trade for Chicago as well when you're getting a guy who's familiar with your head coach and that your head coach believes in. I think all Bears fans, I'm not saying, go crazy, but this is a step in the right direction of what they need to do. And the Bears, as far as the Bears go, a step in the right direction is a good start to the Ben Johnson tenure here. So now you look at that offensive line, you feel pretty good at tackles with Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright, although maybe I think that Johnson said there could be some competition. It's either Johnson or Poles, so there could be some competition for Braxton Jones there at left tackle, but he's probably going to be the guy next year. And then right now, you'd probably slide in Jackson to that left guard spot. Tevin Jenkins is gone. I'm pretty sure, I was listening to somebody, and I'm pretty sure they said the Bears wished Tevin Jenkins happy birthday on Twitter. And he sent back that like dog gif where the dog's like, what are we talking about here? So he's probably gone. And then right now, I mean, if you're talking right now today, you'd have Coleman Shelton and you'd have Matt Pryor, who they might try to bring back in free agency. But you still need to address center and now right guard. And I think all signs, if we're looking ahead to what the Bears could do to continue to shore up this offensive line, all Bears fans are going to want Drew Dahlman from Atlanta, who's projected to get a fairly sizable contract in free agency here. But if they go ahead and make that move, all of a sudden, Ziggy, you look at this line and you go, this is serviceable. And the offense has weapons. I think Bears fans should be pretty happy about how things are trending this offseason. Would you agree?
I think they should. And a lot of Bears fans are going to wonder, I mean, could we really not get anybody better than Jonah Jackson? And we've zoomed out a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to keep it going. Here's the thing about that, though. Look, it's the Paul Farrington show, right? It's two guys talking football. Trey Smith's just not available. Oh, we're gone. All right, we're back. Trey Smith's just gone, right? He was tagged by the Chiefs. If they're willing to pay a franchise tag on him, that's not available. And who's left? You can get Will Freeze, who's coming off fracturing his tibia.
Will Freeze.
Tevin Jenkins might be the best guy after that. Kevin Ziegler, he's 34? James Daniels, who ruptured his Achilles. Like, there aren't good free agent options available here. So I think that's another reason why getting a guy who you know can be decent, you'd have to sign those free agents to a $20 million plus deal anyway. You might as well pay a guy you like.
I think Kevin Zeitler, as Ziggy zooms back in here, the Wi-Fi stabilizing, I think Kevin Zeitler's a guy to keep an eye on, and that would be nice to steal him, to poach him from the Lions as well. That'll probably just feel good for the Bears, as well as being a good addition to the team there. Then you look at Mekhi Becton. Do you want to hand him a massive contract with all the injuries that he's had? Like, I know he played well with Philly.
Based on one decent season at guard?
Yeah.
No.
So there are a lot of question marks around those other guards, like you were saying. I think that, very much still in the market for those guys. There is still a pretty big hole there. And then the Bears can work on, I just, in the other show that I did, I was talking about how they needed to fix both sides of the line. This defensive line class is pretty loaded. I know it's not a lot of top end talent, but there are a lot of guys that you can plug and play and be a starter in the league that the Bears can look at in the draft. So I think things are working out nicely for those areas of concern to be alleviated for Chicago heading into the season. And all signs are, look, if you could protect Caleb, and he's got to stop scrambling. I was talking about the game when the Vikings played Chicago this year. Remember in Chicago, the crazy comeback? Bears get the ball in overtime, and like the first or second play of the drive, Caleb just runs around, takes a 15-yard sack. He did that a lot last season. So for as many times as the Bears' offensive line were letting people run through, Caleb is also partially responsible for that number being so high. But it's year one. You're hoping Ben Johnson can get some of those things fixed with a more efficient offense. And I think I'm not really high on the Bears heading into the season, but I'm not down on them. Like, a lot of people seem to be saying, Chicago, we'll see what happens with them. But I think there's a world that they could be a playoff team. About
the Lions.
I think there's a world that the Bears could be a playoff team next year.
Yeah, I agree. Look, you can't sit back and tell Caleb Williams, don't be trigger happy on scrambling when your offensive line's getting blown up every other play. So this is, I think, the first step in building the credibility to tell him to change his play style a little bit. But yeah, you've still got good weapons on offense. You've still got, I think the offensive line is going to improve with this. The defense still has playmakers. And the thing I like about the Bears in making this move is my number one rule for free agency is never be desperate. The biggest mistakes in free agency and the draft always are when teams go in desperate. They absolutely need someone at this position, and they'll pay whatever it takes to get it. This takes some desperation off of the defense too. I like what they're doing here.
Yeah, 100%. And like I was saying earlier, the Bears making the right decisions and ones that will not be costly to them down the road. I think that's like the bottom line of what you should be asking for as a fan. And the Bears have not always done that. So I don't want to sit out here and talk about Jonah Jackson.
This is the move a competent GM makes.
Yes.
This is what Howie Roseman would do if he needed a guard.
Yes, I don't want to make this sound. I'm not shooting off fireworks in Chicago or anything like that. But it's something that a functional football team should be doing to address problems, and that's a win. That's a step in the right direction. Where you think about these dysfunctional teams like the Jets, the Browns. The Bears are one of them. How do you get onto that path that the Lions got to? It's start identifying the kind of players you want in your locker room and build it up. It's not going to be fixed overnight. Now, Chicago, I think, has more talent than a lot of these teams that are dysfunctional typically do. But the Bears are in a good situation here where it seems like the right guys are making the right moves right now. And who knows? We'll see what happens because they are the Bears. You just never know what's going to happen with these kind of teams. But I'd be happy today if I were a Bears fan. And I think the future is pretty promising here for that team. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the NFC North again in 2025. So any closing thoughts here, Ziggy?
I think you said it well, Paul. Competence is back in Chicago.
Competence is back. Competence across the NFC North, really. Across the NFC North, I think it's pretty competent.
Can we get a round of applause for competence across the NFC North?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll 100% take it. It's between the Packers, Vikings, Lions, and Bears. You got some pretty well-run organizations at the moment, it seems. If Chicago gets things in line, you got 4 very well-run organizations in the National Football League. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure that there will be more emergency shows throughout the remainder of the offseason. I don't know if I'd call this an emergency show. It's more of a like, hey, you want to record? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. But I guess it fits the bill for one. So Jonah Jackson to the Bears. Who knew? Gets an emergency episode of Paul Farrington Show. We'll be back on Friday? Because you want to record Thursday, Ziggy?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just checking. We'll be back on Friday with the mailbag. So please continue to drop in those mailbag questions on the community page. We'll see you soon.